This episode of Askewed Reviews is another Events and Experiences. This time around, my family and I went on a journey back in time. And in fact, at this location, my daughter was able to purchase that really cool mask, which, in my opinion, was actually very well priced. And if you haven't figured it out yet, we traveled to medieval times, dinner and tournament. More specifically, we went to the one in Chicago, Illinois, although it says Chicago, but it's actually located in Schaumburg. I've been to this location about 4 or 5 times throughout my life, and if you've never been, it is an amazing, really fun experience that is very theatrical. So, the actual story for this location is that the king and queen have decided to have an event, and all of us are invited to enjoy it. Once you enter into this arena, you are seated in different sections, each one representing a different knight. Over the years, the colors of the knights have pretty much stayed the same, as you have yellow, white and black, red, green, yellow and red, and blue. Our knight for this event was the yellow and red knight. What made this especially fun this time around is our knight actually won, and he gave my daughter a rose. There are usually 3 tournaments throughout the evening. The first one is all about skill, as the knights will use their lances to gather rings for points. The second tournament is usually the joust, where they are racing back and forth on horses, crashing lances into each other's shields as splinters go flying throughout the air. The final tournament is usually a battle, sometimes to the death, sometimes just a straight up battle, but usually they are facing each other in hand to hand combat with medieval weaponry, and a lot of times when they clash together, sparks go flying. Between the tournaments, there's also some other attractions, like horses that can dance or do some interesting tricks, along with a falconer. My daughter really loved that one because the falcon actually flew right above her head twice. One of the other great aspects about medieval times is included in the price of admission is a full dinner that you have to eat with only your hands. The meal usually consists of roast chicken, baked potato, corn on the cob, garlic bread, tomato soup, which they call dragon's blood, and some sort of dessert. Also, if you care to imbibe some alcohol, they have lots of great drink options. I recommend the first night, that's the one I had, and it was very tasty. But there are also tons of really cool collectible cups, glasses, goblets, even a horn. But do keep in mind, these are some of the most expensive drinks I have seen. Now, even before you get into the actual arena, you are welcomed into the Great Hall. This area is also their gift shop, where you can get so many cool things for your kids, lots of awesome collectibles for yourself, and some very nice weaponry if you're willing to spend the money. One thing that made me very sad to find out is they had closed down the dungeon area, which showcased a torture chamber that was really cool and very educational. They did so during the pandemic and it just never reopened. One detractor I will say for this experience, though, was the cost. The general admission is very expensive. One good thing, though, is throughout the year, it's very easy to get a hold of a coupon code that does take 15% off. But mind you, that's not a huge discount. In this next section, I'm going to show you the different levels of admission. Feel free to pause if you want to take a moment to read these. So the first one is general admission, and with this, I honestly don't feel like you need to go above that unless you really want to. Next up, you have the royalty package. Then there's the celebration package. And finally, there's the Queen's royalty package. Additionally, they also have options for birthdays and for group outings. So when it came to my experience with medieval times, dinner, and tournament, I did thoroughly enjoy this. It's a really great time for the family. It's lots of fun entertainment, a cool show, some great food, some really cool stuff that you can bring home. But one of my big detractors, like I said, was the price, especially due to the fact that I could go to the Renaissance Fair in summer and be able to pay a quarter of the price for even more to experience. Now, I do get it. This is a castle in the middle of Illinois that has multiple shows per day that are happening with horses, with actors, and with all of that food. So I'm not saying it doesn't slightly make sense for the cost, but because of this fact, I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. And if you've ever been to medieval times or even a different one that's not in Illinois, let me know what you thought about your experience in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews, Events and Experiences. If there's other events and experiences that you think that I should go to or even take my family to, let me know in the comments and I can potentially do a review for that as well.